Welcome back to Beyond the Four Walls. I'm your host, Charlie Younkin. Today I'm sitting down with Brent Pirochta, the police chief for the Brighton, Michigan Police Department. Chief Pirochta has been holding the line in law enforcement for 23 years, with the last decade spent serving as a command officer. Not only has he worked the street and climbed the ranks, but he's been instrumental in building the peer support program for his officers. Today, we're going to talk about the weight of leadership, what it takes to change the culture of policing, and how to survive a 2-decade career. Chief, welcome.
Hey, thank you, sir. I appreciate it, and it's an honor and privilege to be here and have a great conversation about the future of law enforcement and how it's changed over time and whatever other questions you want to throw at me.
I'm really excited. This is we've been talking about this for a while. You and I met probably a couple of years ago.
Been about 2 or 3 years.
I came in and talked to you about Lines of Heroes and what we were doing, and you had talked to me a lot about what you guys were doing. And then you introduced me to Kramer and Bradford and what they were doing over at Green Oak and what the departments locally are doing for the peer support program.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to have you here today. So you've been on the job over 22 years. Tell me a little bit about your career.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I started, believe it or not, as an intern. Being a Ferris State grad, part of our educational component was doing an internship at a department of your choosing or who would accept you. And I didn't, believe it or not, I didn't know anything about the city of Brighton. I went through the law enforcement book, and I first started with Ann Arbor, and they put me on hold and put me to voicemail. So then I called Brighton, and Lieutenant Bockhausen said, "Hey, you're the first guy from Ferris that called. You start tomorrow." I'm like, I guess I'm done.
Perfect.
And then from there, I had the honor and privilege of being hired by Chief Mike Kineshuk. Started obviously as a patrolman. I really took an interest in training, so became a department trainer in various topics and disciplines for our organization. SWAT was really kind of where I wanted to go next, and was fortunate enough to become part of our Livingston. For first, it was the City of Brighton SWAT team. We were an eight-man team, and then over time, we actually evolved into merging with the Sheriff's Office, Hamburg, Green Oak, Howell City, and became the regional Livingston Regional SWAT team. And through that, got promoted to sergeant, and here I am now as a chief of police. It's been a rewarding career. I enjoyed it. I had, my HR director, gotta love her, in through conversation and joking, she said November 1st of 29. I'm going, gosh, that's only 4 years away, 5 years away, right? My math serves me right now.
I think it's
3 years away.
A little over 3, yeah.
And kind of looking at that chapter, I don't need to go or have to go, but it's an option. And what does that look like for me, and where what's that journey going to be next?
I always say, what are you going to do when you grow up?
Right.
I mean, you were very young, and this has been your life, your career, and then you're walking in 3.5 years. You're going to get to say, now what am I going to do when I grow up?
Right. So, and I say that in jest, right? I mean, City of Brighton's a great place to work for. I love it here, and it's an option. Not saying that that's going to be the finality, my final goodbye. I could stay around a couple more years or things like that, but it's nice to have that option.
Yes. So you've been on the job for over 22 years. How old were you when you started then?
I was 23 when I started.
So the rookie version of yourself.
Yeah.
To now, today we're here in this podcast. I call it Beyond the Four Walls, and it's about the support that we have with this 4 walls of protection. We walk in, and some worse than others, but we all walk in those 4 walls, and we all live the same hell, right? And then when we leave, we don't have that protection.
Right.
And so the big thing is the 5 pillars of growth that I talk about a lot is the emotional, spiritual, mental, physical, and financial. And can we make sure that we are where we need to be with those 5 pillars to move on past retirement. And so we have those four walls of protection that I feel. And when you look at that rookie cop and then now, you've been through many things in your career and many things in your life. What is a thing that really sticks to you of this, just this invisible weight of this job, of what it's done? You know, we talk about the backpack, that every time something goes on, we just throw it in the backpack. We don't deal with it. So from who you are, would you say that you've done well with managing how you've handled things, or it's been a work in progress?
It's been a journey, right? When I look back in the younger me, right, and 23-year-old rookie trying to figure out the world in this job, and fortunately, my dad was in law enforcement for 43 years, right?
Okay.
And so I lived that life as a child. My mom, God love her, she did a phenomenal job with me as well. She was a shift worker through a hospital until she got promoted up. So both my parents were shift workers, and my mom's career also had a lot of stress to it as well, working in the medical field, and how they navigated that and the trials and tribulations that they went through. You think you'd learn something from that, but unfortunately you got to figure it out on your own. So looking back at the 23-year-old me, it was kind of ingrained in us to be stoic, right? And I think you should, as a law enforcement officer, be stoic, right? That's our job. We are coming at people to assist them in their worst time of their life, right? In their time of need, regardless of you name whatever type of call for service, that's that person's absolute emergency, right? Or they wouldn't be calling us. And we're supposed to remain this professional face, this stoic person, no emotion, etc. And it's been difficult over time. You compartmentalize that, you put it in a little box, and you put it in the Wayback Machine, hoping it never comes up again, right? That was a struggle in the sense of trying to work through all that. What am I supposed to be feeling? How should I be feeling? And it wasn't viewed, I think, as strength to talk about it, right? You joke about things, and through humor, right, you kind of get through it.
Right.
But really, looking at people, it's okay to not be okay. And I don't say that in a condescending manner. I look at that and go, it's okay to pull somebody aside and go, man, that really bothered me, right? And early on in our careers, we never did that. Not until I became older, right? And reflecting back, going, man, I could have been a better husband. I could have been a better dad. At the time, I was short, and combined with the shift work, right? Working midnights or whatever shift you're on, the stressors of that and what it does to you physically. I could have been better. And now over the last couple of years, I've really kind of reflected back going, how can I get better to be a better dad, be a better husband, be a better leader? How can I protect and insulate my people? Because you're right, it's beyond the four walls and in that journey of being successful past retirement, right? Living a healthy life, financially, spiritually, emotionally, so you can enjoy your whatever journey you're on past this career, the rewarding career that it is. But hopefully you have several years left past this job, and you can enjoy it, right? And not be mentally dealing with mental stuff past this job, financial stuff past this job. So yeah, looking back to answer your question, it's been a journey, right? And I think a lot of self-reflection and what I need to do to be better. Period. That's kind of where I stand with it, and what I'm doing for me.
Right.
Right.
Back in, like you said, back in the career, we were told to suck it up, Buttercup. I remember one of the things that really stands out is when I worked in Detroit, there were a couple of major situations. I remember when Blake was shot, and the next day we were back to work. Mm. When Sean was shot, the next day we were back to work. Like, there were a few people that were able to be off, but overall it was suck it up, Buttercup. And those were extremes. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there were times in our career where we saw things that we probably did need to talk to somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely agree.
And back in the day, we didn't. It was suck it up, throw it in the bag, push it down. We're not talking about it. I've been with a therapist for many years, but you didn't go to work and say, I need a therapist.
Right.
That was off limits.
Yeah, it was.
And so what is the turning point for you? So, and you talked about, in essence, what I'm hearing you talk about as you're getting older and you've been in this career and in life, you're working every day to be a better man. Mm-hmm. I've had a couple of people on. I go to 242, and they started a program called Better Man, mm-hmm. and it's us as men doing the work to be a better man biblically. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, I fail every single day. Mm-hmm. Every day. But nobody taught us this.
Right.
And because talking about old school, I mean, if you're telling me your dad was a cop for 43 years, you for sure didn't talk about anything back then.
Right.
And so suck it up, buttercup. You're going to figure this out. You're going to do this. So do you remember, was there a time in your career, was it when you were an officer still, or was you when you started to get into command where you were like, man, I need to start doing a little bit better?
I think it's both, right? If I could reflect back on that, I didn't know it at the time mm-hmm. as an officer, right? And I will absolutely give our agency credit in that I'm sure if asked for, they would have provided something, right? But it was the culture. It was almost like looked down upon. You felt internally, maybe not so. Maybe it was a misunderstanding on my part, right? But you always have that.
I don't think so.
I don't want to be viewed as weak
right.
or not mentally fit, if you will. Mm-hmm. There's always that mentally fit is a big thing in our profession.
Oh, yes.
Right? And you don't ever want to have that tagged on you that it's bad to have concerns about how I'm feeling about this situation, right?
Right.
And there's been situations throughout my career that I can put myself, if I close my eyes, I can put myself there. And I'm sure a lot of people can in our profession, right? That you can see it, you can hear it, you can smell it, you almost can taste it, depending on what it is, right? Absolutely. And with that, not knowing that early on in my career, that's something that should have been unpacked, right? And I think I would have been better early on having unpacked that. When I became a command officer as a sergeant, and kind of truly measuring the pulse of people, right? And learning and trying to scratch that surface of, is it okay to start saying something about this, right? And we learn through our mistakes, right, as leaders. And I had an officer for me that was involved for his privacy, keeping names away from the situation. He was a phenomenal cop, and he was involved in a shooting that took place. Not a trigger puller, but felt severe guilt about not pulling that trigger when he had sights on him. But he did a phenomenal job. He couldn't verify what that guy was holding or not, right?
Right.
So he did everything correct, but he felt that guilt. Could he have done something to intervene in that situation so where the other people didn't get put in that position, right?
Right.
And you watch him go from being a top performer to his behaviors change, and ultimately he ended up resigning. And he's a phenomenal in his profession now. What he's doing now, doing phenomenal, right? But I feel like I didn't pay attention to those cues fast enough to maybe potentially give him guidance. So that's one instance that stands out in my mind as a supervisor. Going, man, I missed the mark on that. What could I have done better to help this young man? But I was still learning myself, right? And I think that self-reflection and humbling yourself to go, where did I screw up?
Right.
As a sergeant, that was one of the spots I screwed up. And he's phenomenal now. He's doing phenomenal things in the medical field. But he was an awesome guy. I wish he'd still be here. But that career path changed for him that instance. And
right.
So that from that point on, and then I had some other things that personally impacted myself that I need to unpack that. I was a command officer, and I was handling a situation with two of my officers, and we had a 13-year-old commit suicide, hung himself with a Boy Scout belt. I had a 10-year-old. My son was 10, 3 years away from my son's age, and I had a 4-year-old daughter at the time, and they're now 17 and 11. I can hear it, I can see it, I can smell it. That impacted all three of us. And that was the first time I bought into sitting down and doing a critical incident debrief, right? In the SWAT world, we always debrief stuff right after action.
Absolutely.
I mean, immediately afterwards,
Yes.
It was, hey, what went right, what went wrong, what could we do better, right?
Right.
But on the patrol side of the fence, that was kind of taboo, right? I'm sure they were happening, but actually sitting down with police, fire, EMS, even dispatch was brought into that. And, you hear the jokes of, well, it's a tissue team, et cetera. All right, I'm going to sit and listen. And helping unpack that was the start of my journey of, all right, this is something that we need to do better, and what can we do about it?
And how long ago was that?
Oh my gosh, it was prior to COVID. I want to say 2017, 18.
Okay.
And I think, COVID changed a lot. I mean, hitting that situation, everything kind of got put on pause,
Yes.
if you will. And we were trying to figure out how do we deal with this situation
Yes.
during COVID. And then coming out of COVID, the chief at the time, Chief Bradford, was starting to scratch the surface of it, and we were paying attention to how the city was doing. And, we as cops, we don't like to reinvent the wheel. So they were doing a program called Check Up from the Neck Up sometime around there, right? And kind of listening, what is that? What is that all about? And then we started bringing it on, and Chief Bradford retired and went to Green Oak, and I took over his position, and let's push play, right? So what does that look like for us? Mm-hmm. And what it is it's a mandatory program once a year, usually around August, September. Everybody in my department, civilian, sworn, all go and meet with a clinical psychologist just to unpack everything, right?
Right.
I personally absolutely do not care what they talk about. It's none of my business. It's truly their time to talk about whatever. Right?
Unload that backpack.
Amen. And obviously they're mandatory reporters. I shouldn't say I don't care. I do care if they're homicidal, suicidal, or
Right.
Having domestic issues at home that would be reported to me. But the city has done a great job in supporting that through our city manager, Gretchen Gomolka, and our HR director, Michelle Whitney. They bought into that program, and we actually have a line item in our budget that supports that.
Wow.
Right. So every officer goes once a year. The only thing I get is a printout of, yep, they attended. And the city pays for everything. They'll pay for your first initial visit. They'll actually pay for 2 additional visits after that,
Right.
if you like that service. And it actually coincides with our insurance. So if you want to continue that service, you're more than welcome to do so. And again, I don't know, other than I know they go once a year.
Right.
If I have officers in my organization that are utilizing it, good for them. If that works for them and their family, outstanding. I don't get that report. It's none of my business.
Right.
And that was biggest hurdle to get over, right? Is people going, well, is the chief really going to stay out of this? And it's none of his business and confidentiality. And absolutely, I'm going first.
Right.
I'm signing up, getting my appointment. Let's do it.
Right.
And I think officers truly believe now, after that first initial, I truly am not going to be snooping in your stuff unless it's reported to me as a mandatory reporter. But beyond that,
Right.
go do your thing, unpack your baggage, get it off your chest, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at now. And we're doing some other things, but we can get into that later. Or
Yeah. I believe that for years, things weren't being handled. I blame everybody I blame administration. I blame City Hall. I blame command. I blame the officers for all of these years not doing something. And it took so long. And I look back at, there was a situation in Warren where one of our own, he had seen a couple of baby deaths over a couple of weeks. And great guy, great cop. And he worked midnights. I worked midnights for 18 years. He worked midnights, and he got off work, and a local jurisdiction a few hours later called and said that he was in distress standing on a ladder in his garage talking to a garage door opener. Do you know what took that situation for admin, City Hall, the union, everybody to go, hey, maybe we need to figure something out. Mm-hmm. Maybe we need to look into this peer support program that prior to that happening, it was starting to grow. Yeah. Back 7, 8 years ago, it was starting to be out there. They, the National Fraternal Order of Police, FST5, like there were programs that were saying, okay, we need to start taking care of these guys, right. Start helping them. Suicide rate is the number one cause of death in first responders. I mean, we're not taking care of our own. Right. And then once we retire, that suicide rate blows up for first responders. And so what I hear you saying is, finally, as a department, everybody started looking, okay, we need to start talking. We need to, I
think as a profession, we have, right?
Yes.
And I look back, and I mean, I worked for some great leadership, right? I look at Bockhausen, Lieutenant Bockhausen, Chief Kinishuk, Sergeant Raymond. They were awesome leaders, right? And I think our culture didn't understand it then. And so I think blame, I think lack of understanding.
Okay.
If I may.
Yeah,
right?
no, I love it. Yes.
And you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes it's hard to be the first one. Like I said, we took it from Howell City and went, I kind of like what they're doing over there.
Right.
And then the sheriff's office, they kind of went first in the bucket, if you will, on a peer support team and starting that up. Mm-hmm. And what does that look like? No one ever wants to be the first in the barrel in case it flops.
Right.
But you watch the momentum it's gaining and what it's doing. And yeah, people joke about it. Like I made reference to being the tissue team. Oh, still, you got to kind of maintain some of that little swagger, right?
Right. Oh,
but
yeah.
If you truly lean into it, it can be an outstanding positive thing. It's not a weak thing.
No.
And I think that's the stigma that we have to get over, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. We are warriors and guardians, right? And I think both have to coexist. But it's okay to take care of ourselves and be warriors and guardians for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right? And in doing that, you still kind of maintain that, well, I'm still macho, right? I'm tough, I'm strong. Well, yeah, you are, but it's absolutely okay to unpack things. And I think once we get there and we get our community as a whole around that idea and remove the stigma from law enforcement that we are humans,
yes.
or that we're not just robots, we do have feelings, we have emotion, and there's a place and time to unpack those.
Right.
Not on a scene, not on a call for service,
nope.
But behind the scenes, it's okay to do that.
Right.
And I think as a culture, we're getting there and doing phenomenal things across our profession to get there. I
would agree. I definitely would agree. I am seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I retired in 22, I went through 22 and going into 23, I wasn't in a good place. Mm-hmm. I hadn't unpacked, and it took a friend to say, hey, no, you're going to New York. There's a program out in New York called NY Leaps, and you're going to do some work. It's a 3-day work. Mm-hmm. And what stuck out to me, and this was, it's still part of this peer support of, it's this round table type in a circle. Everybody's looking at each other. We're paying attention to each other's eyes. Mm-hmm. Once we start talking, you go into these peer support times, and people are crying.
Yeah.
They're releasing. They're letting go. And this is what we need to do, right? And so when I went to New York in 23, I remember saying in this huge table, there were 24 of us, and I go, I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of being tired. And when everybody started talking, I was like, wow, this is it. This is really it. And so when we bring that into the police departments and these peer support programs that we're sitting looking at each other and we're talking, this also brings in, this is why we have a responsibility. We spend more time with our people at work than we do with our spouse and our kids.
We absolutely do.
And I was talking to you a little earlier before we got on about how we know when something's going on. You can see it in your boy's eyes and in that officer's eye because you know them. And in the past, it was suck it up, buttercup. You had your stuff, they had their stuff. Where now what I'm seeing in this change in culture is, hey, are you okay?
Absolutely.
And that's huge. That gives me the chills.
Yep.
Because it was not like that.
Right.
It wasn't. And so the culture's changing.
It is.
And exactly what you said. It I say it's a blame, but you said it right. It's not a blame. We didn't know.
Right.
Nobody taught us this. We didn't learn this in the academy. This isn't what we did. And things are changing.
I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Let's get a little bit into family.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
And I bring this up because I look at my career and how young I was. I was 19. I worked 18 years of midnights. And when you talk about it as you've gotten older, you think about the things like, man, I could have handled things a little different there, right?
Oh, yeah.
And but you're tired, what you just dealt with, and you go home. And I've been bringing this up a lot because I worked 18 years of midnights, and I had gotten promoted to sergeant. So I was in the DB for 4 years, and I was on days, and then I got promoted to sergeant, and I'm back on midnights.
Right.
And now I'm back on midnights, but it's 12-hour shifts.
Oh, yeah.
And I was at the end of Hell Week in Warren, and I call it where, you're working Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep. Your long week.
It's hell.
Yep.
And I walked downstairs, and my girlfriend at the time at my house out in Shelby, my girlfriend at the time, and then my two boys, and they're adults. They were in the kitchen. And I walked down, and I slept probably 4 hours because that's what I usually did. And my son said, "Oh, asshole dad's back."
Hit you, didn't it?
It still hits me.
Right.
And, I worked on midnights so I could be present for the boys.
Right.
And so when you think it, this, I was a great dad, and I was present, and I was there. But my 22-year-old son said, asshole dad's back.
Right.
And so these are those moments. And so I'm asking you, like, as you've grown, I'm sure you remember and as you've grown up, right, on this job and with your family and your wife and your kids, and I'm sure you can remember moments and say, man, I remember, and this is what I'm working on now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I go back even to my childhood, right? Phenomenal childhood. Both my parents did awesome work. I can't love them more than I do now. But even watching them and they were making ends meet. They were both shift workers. My dad nights, noons, et cetera. My mom the same until she was moved up in her profession. But it's a struggle, right? I mean, in looking back on my earlier days, I spent 13 years on midnights total in my career. And you're right. You not by choice, at least, the smaller organization like we are. I mean, new guy, hey, guess what? You're on nights. So, okay, cool. I'm going to ride on midnights. And our bodies just aren't naturally hardwired to be up.
Correct.
That long. And then you try to make up for it by staying up, once you get home to be a part of your family and all that stuff, but you're exhausted. Without our families, I don't think we as first responders and any police, fire, EMS, you name it. Dispatchers as well. They're part of that first responder team who work the same shifts we do, right? Without a phenomenal family support system, it could be a lot worse, right? So give them all the credit. They strap in for a ride that I don't think they truly understand that you're going down, right? I mean, I had a conversation with my wife when we were dating and before we got engaged. I said, this is what I'm going to be doing. This is my profession, and I love you. But if you're not in, I don't begrudge you for stepping away.
Right.
If that's not for you. And without her love and support, and truly allowing me to grow in my career, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today. Right. She's put up with a lot. So have my kids, right? Not understanding my dad's a little bit more irritable today. They don't understand, especially when they're younger, right? Now that my son's 17 and we can start having, that more those adult conversations about, those times. And my daughter still doesn't quite understand, but being 11 and how deep do you want to go down there?
Right.
But now it's unpacking with my kids as to why, right? To some level, a level they understand in owning that back then, right? Mm-hmm. But again, I give all the credit to my family, for both my immediate family and my extended family, because they put up with it too, right?
Right.
You not being there for holidays,
Absolutely.
anything you want to be at, right? At first they don't understand, but then they understand, as you move forward and go, okay. And then them trying to plan things around you so you can be present in those challenges there.
And they did do that.
They did, yeah, as best they could. But
right.
you can't be selfish about it, and they have other family members to plan around, right? Nope, I apologize.
No worries.
Doesn't stop, does it?
No,
right?
it doesn't.
And so with that, just trying to give them the credit and then explain, now that I've gotten older, hey, this is why, right? It wasn't anything personal, just where I was at in my life. And I apologize for those things. If I seem short, didn't give you, I wasn't present, this is why, because this, in our culture too, back when we were going through it, this was priority, right? I mean,
absolutely.
The whole, I think we could learn something from this younger generation. Everybody says, oh, this younger generation, they just don't, they're lazy. We've got phenomenal people that work for us, and I'm trying to listen and learn from them as well, right?
Yes.
And it's hard as a leader coming up through the ranks, and hey, it's you're here. This is your priority, doubles, overtime, etc. Right. Now I say this in jest. I appreciate and value people being here because we have a city to protect, right, and community to serve. But they say this thing, work-home life balance. I've heard that come up a lot, right? Now, don't get me wrong. It's got to be I'm still in that old school mentality where work kind of to home, we need to be here. This is what we signed up for. But being okay with taking that vacation time, and then truly disconnecting and going and enjoying your family. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that I still struggle with today. I'm always afraid I'm going to miss something. But as I've developed throughout my career is we have phenomenal people that work for us, and you got to trust them and lean on them when they're here, that they're going to do a phenomenal job, and they do, right?
Right.
But still, you want to be a part of it. You don't want to miss out on that.
Right.
Not on my watch, not while I'm here, etc. And truly being able to disconnect on your days off.
Yes.
And this younger generation's kind of got that. And I say it, I almost respect it in that, good for you. Those are things we didn't understand. And I'm not saying that I don't want them here. Please be here,
Right.
But I think they do a better job of it. They understand it a little bit better than we do. And to sit back and listen to them and kind of watch them a little bit and see how we can be better, there's something to be learned from them, right?
Absolutely.
But again, I think there's a balance. I like that balance to be a little more work than time off, but it needs to be closer than what we used to do. Is we were probably 90% all into work,
yes,
and 10% all into family, right?
Yes.
There's got to be a balance, maybe 70-30, 60-40, something. I think that'll go a long way, and plus it'll help our families along the journey as well, too, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I look at who I am, and I mean, I raised two great boys and I have beautiful grandchildren. And, unfortunately, because of just decisions and how my life was, the divorce rate is through the roof in first responders, and I'm one of those, right? And just taking too long to fix myself,
Right.
taking too long to recognize, because I used to say forever, I got this.
Agree.
I got it. And guess what?
Don't.
I don't got this.
Well, and from that mentality, we used to take it out on the ones we love the most, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And not explaining, hey, I apologize for this behavior.
Yes.
I'm taking out stuff that has nothing to do with you
Yes.
on you. And because I'm short-tempered, just don't want to be bothered with it because, you've dealt with work all day. You've tried to help solve other people's problems. And then when I'm at home, I don't want to be bothered with our problems, but life
Right.
still's going on for your family, right?
Right.
And guilty is charged, right?
Yeah.
I just spent all day doing X, Y, and Z, trying to figure out other people's situations. Just handle it. I don't need to be a part in disconnecting from that.
Right.
Doesn't pay dividends in the marriage department as well, right?
No, it's interesting. You had said, I told my wife, you told your wife, well, this is what it's going to look like. So, but it's all fine and dandy until you really start digging in it. And we're not easy. This job is not easy, and we're not easy to deal with. So yes, okay, she made the commitment, say, yes, I'm going to do this. But with that came a lot that she didn't know what she was walking into, right? And I hold my level of what I hold of respect is a spouse that is married to a first responder or a frontline worker in the military. I mean, we're heroes. They're real heroes.
I don't disagree with you at all, right?
I mean, and then our kids, and yeah. We're going to take a pause and then we're going to get back into it, okay?
Great, that'll work.
Awesome.
Today's episode is brought to you by Valor Collective. In the heroes community, among our military first responders and frontline workers, trust isn't just a word, it's a lifeline. It's earned through action and proven in the trenches. When you're ready to make a move, you don't just need a real estate agent. You need a team that operates by the same code you live by. Valor Collective was built on that foundation of integrity and grit. They understand that for you, a home isn't just a transaction. It's the rally point for your family and the one place you can finally decompress. They've got your back because they've walked the path. Valor Collective, built on honor, driven by results. Your move is our mission.
All right, we're getting back on it with Chief Pirochta. So we've talked a lot today, and I want to bring a little bit into play of you as a man, and you were talking a little bit about you and your son, and just being a better person, being a better man, right? And so let's dig in a little bit into the spiritual world.
Okay.
I love it. And this is, and I'm really working. I fail every day.
Agreed.
This weekend
Me
I
too.
failed horribly. Right. But every day I'm working to be a better man. And so I guess let's just get into that. And, you being a better man and working every day at home and what you're looking to do at the department.
Yeah. So, on the break, we were talking about, my journey spiritually, right? And as a young man, I was born and raised Catholic till about the 8th grade. Didn't understand a lot. And again, my parents were trying to bring and do the right things and bring me up. And I'm not disparaging any religion by any means, teach their own. So we went a different path, but I never really connected, right? I didn't have that relationship that you'd want with God, right? And then with this profession, brought a lot of questions, right? We every first responder does a lot of things that doesn't make sense.
Right.
And if So I stepped away for a little bit, right? And my connect from the church, right? And my connection was directly talking to the man upstairs, going, "Why is this? Why that?" And it wasn't making sense, right? And so my son, believe it or not, phenomenal young man, give him the credit. He started becoming a part of Fellowship of Christian Athletes through the school. And I'm like, what is that all about, right? I mean, You think of school and religion, like what's going on here? But watching him and how he interacted with people and who he was with people was kind of like, that's a good pulse, right? And he plays lacrosse for his school, and the coach that he has is another phenomenal man that kind of stepped alongside of me and had some great conversations with me. And I explained to him where I was at with religion, and he goes, "Well, why don't you come check us out?" So he invited me to church, and literally I was in my driveway, and I'm like, "Well, what's that look like?" He goes, "So I'm inviting you now." Okay. So we went and on a journey with participating in some men's groups, right? And trying to be better men, right? Husbands, fathers, dads, leaders,
Right.
coworkers, et cetera.
Yes.
And it's helped me in my journey in seeking understanding, right? I find relief in that when you lean in. Answers sometimes come to you. You might understand why, but it's taught me some things and it kind of helps, right? It's even helped my relationship in trying to be intentional with my family, right? Especially my wife, right? Love intentionally, do things intentionally. So every night, before we go to bed, we can be upset with each other, but we say a quick prayer together, right? To kind of bring us back to center, and okay, we can continue on our journey or discussion
Right.
later on, but at least we're thankful for the day and what today has brought us, right? And kind of keeping that close to heart and help guiding me through my journey as I'm getting older, right? And trying to reconnect and seeking understanding. So that's one thing, right? And then as an organization, I think we're trying to do similar things, right? And we talked about the checkup from the neck up program, but I had a sergeant come to me and said, "Hey, Sergeant Meldrum, what else can we do?" And we talked about bringing our chaplain program back. That was a great resource. We had a chaplain program for majority of my career, and it was just another confidant to have in the car that you could unpack things a little bit with.
Absolutely.
And you still had that pastoral / client privilege, right, of confidentiality,
Yes.
to a degree. And so we're kind of looking into that as well.
Awesome.
Vetting local financial advisors so guys can get some financial planning, right? And we know who they are.
Right.
They're local. They're not chasing them down, across the state. Looking at some attorneys that can maybe help our officers with estate and will planning. I mean, that's something I never thought of as a young guy.
Right.
I didn't care what I made. I'm glad to have a job. I didn't know what I was making until my first paycheck showed up, right?
Right.
And kind of making it like a one-stop shop EAP program here in our organization. Now, is it perfect? Absolutely not. It's an absolute slow burn right now. Life happens
Right.
for everybody. Work's happening.
Yes.
It's a goal, and we have steps and how to get to that end game. And then you talk about physically fit. Over the last 4 years, we've improved and developed our workout room in our department, so officers can work out before and after shift, make it easier for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then trying to figure out other incentives to make sure our officers are mentally and physically fit, right? Not only for the job, because I think a mentally fit, physically fit officer better serves the public.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing that we can pride ourselves on at the City of Brighton Police Department, as part of our core values, right? Service, professional service with integrity and courage, right? And our guys are true, our men and women are true professionals. But be the tip of the spear, right? Be that sharp guy, sharp man or woman going out there handling calls. But it goes beyond that. It's how can we make sure our people are in the best position when they retire, to be mentally and physically fit so they can go and enjoy how many years they have left beyond this career with their families, their loved ones, whatever they choose to do, right? A second career, et cetera. You brought it up earlier as divorce rates, suicide rates, heart attack. That was a big thing when we were growing up and through the careers. you retired 5 years and you hear about so-and-so retired officer, 5 years had a heart attack, and is no longer with us. It's like, okay, that's all goes into that component. So those components of being better, not only in the present, but
Right.
in the future for when this career is done and you move on to the next chapter of your life.
Yeah.
So,
It's when I went to, been probably a year and a half, they had the National Fraternal Order of Police mental health. It was a 3-day event in Nashville. And it was a great event. One of the things that stuck out for me is that, so our average age of retirement is 52.4 years old as a first responder. Our life expectancy after retirement was 5.1 years, and it dropped to 4.8.
Yeah.
And then you bring in, I worked 18 years of midnights, and I throw in the fact all the time, for every 1 year you work midnights, and I worked 8 hours. These guys that are working 12-hour midnight shifts, it's one less year you're living on this earth. I mean, it is destroying your body. And so what are you doing? Okay, I work this midnight shift. What can you do to go home, get some sleep, do what you need to do physically, mentally, emotionally, to not let that 4.8 number, like, we need to work on that.
Right.
I mean, that's not good.
No.
It's not good at all. So, so what, and you hear about it all the time, these guys that are, they retire, they've worked 25, 30 years, 2 years later, they're dead. Like, wait, what just happened?
Right.
So, and that's so important out here that we need to start thinking about beyond the badge, beyond the four walls. Like, what does this look like? And yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just do better, right?
Yeah.
And I sit here, humble myself, right?
Right.
Sure, I could eat better. I could lose some weight, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we all could do better, right?
Absolutely.
But if we're at least trying to move in that right direction,
Yeah.
hopefully by the end of that journey, and I say that journey meaning our profession, we can be a little bit better, right?
Yes.
To go out and enjoy whatever life has to bring to us past this career, right? And what a rewarding career it is. I mean, it takes a unique person to be a first responder. These men and women that put the uniforms on in police, fire, EMS every day. I mean, that's a pretty noble thing. Outside of the military, those men and women, God love them. I mean, that's why we're sitting here able to have this conversation today.
Right.
But this is a pretty noble career, and people should be proud of it, right?
Absolutely. Our service, we're service minded, and there's a lot of people that are not that.
Right.
I mean, I still have people today that say, there's no way I would do that. And so I enjoyed my career.
Right.
I had moments in my career of, if me as a 19-year-old, I showed you when we were looking at my shadow boxes, man, that 19-year-old compared to when I retired, what a life.
Yeah.
What a career. The good, the bad. I used to say the good, the bad, and the ugly, the good, the bad, and the beautiful.
Right.
Because it was a great career. I loved being a police officer. I loved everything that it was. With that, I carried baggage, and I didn't do my part to unload. And that's what this is about, is us figuring out for the newer for ourselves and for the next generation, we want them to be better.
Yeah. Do better than what we did.
Yes.
Right.
It's the same idea. You as a father, you always want your son to do way better than you did.
Amen.
That's your hope and your dream when you look into his eyes. I mean, my boys are 32 and 28. Brent, they still take my breath away.
Yeah.
I look at those boys, those men that have children and they're married, and they still take my breath away. And I want them to be better than I ever was. I want them to be a better husband, a better father, a better friend, all of that. And hopefully what I brought to the table, but at the same time, knowing that my 22-year-old said, "Oh, asshole dad's back."
Yep.
So that's where I failed, right? But with the positive things out there as well. And I mean, Chase, he was telling me, he goes, "Dad, I think that you were the hardest working man I ever knew.
Yeah.
And I respect you and I love you." And so I know I did some things right,
Absolutely.
but we failed.
No, we didn't know what we didn't know.
We didn't know what we didn't know.
Right?
Yes.
We're going to take a quick pause for our sponsor, Valor Collective. For years, your life has been defined by the badge, the uniform, and the heavy lifting that happens beyond the four walls. You've stood the watch and held the line. But what happens when the shift is finally over? Valor Collective presents From the Badge to the Beach. They've built a nationwide network of elite agents who specialize in helping the heroes community find their version of paradise. Whether it's a coastal retreat, a mountain sanctuary, or just a quiet piece of land far from the sirens and the stress, they are the bridge to your next chapter. They understand that after a career of service, you aren't just looking for a house, you're looking for the peace you've earned. When you're ready to transition from the front lines to the shoreline, there is only one place to go, onerealmove.com. No matter where you're looking to plant your flag, Valor Collective has the recon and the reach to get you there. onerealmove.com. From the badge to the beach, because you've protected our world. Now it's time to enjoy yours.
So I think to throw blame or to fail, those are strong things. I think we persevered, not knowing what we didn't know, right? And I think we're changing that. Right now we're unpacking,
Right.
getting better, right?
Yes.
Unpacking it and trying to let our next generation learn from our mistakes,
Right.
Our lack of understanding, so they can move in a more positive direction. And I don't mean any negativity toward. I love this career. The people that came before me and put me in this position played a huge role in my life. And I don't think they understood. They didn't know what they didn't know. I keep saying that, right? But they were a phenomenal influence in my life and gave me the guidance and the strength to be here.
Yes.
But I think we're learning things along the way to be better. And, I think the other part of this unpacking is two-part. One is still staying connected to those people that came before you. Right? Our retirees absolutely bring value to the situation.
Yes.
And I think what we're doing for them as well, allowing them to, like we do a Leosa shoot every year. And, we do a retiree luncheon or a retiree Christmas luncheon, if you will. Bringing them back, I think also allows them the opportunity to meet our younger generation, unpack some things by telling some stories, sharing amongst themselves or, talking to our new people and our younger generation. I think it's a good thing. Allowing our younger generation to see what allowed us to have the benefits of today in our profession, but also our retirees to kind of see where things are going. And maybe it's going a good way from where they were. Right. And then two, I think too, is breaking out of our shell of we're a pretty tight knit, quiet community amongst each other. Right.
Yes.
And over the last, as my son and daughter have grown up in our, where we live in our jurisdiction and in meeting people outside of your profession. Right. It's a little uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I have some phenomenal friends that aren't law enforcement or first responders that I've connected with that play a huge impact and role in my life. In being, you never used to be comfortable with that. They don't understand.
Right.
They won't understand me. They don't get what we do. Believe it or not, they just you get you write me a ticket or something like that, or they make a joke. But I think once you get past that,
right.
There's some great things to be learned from people that do other things.
Absolutely.
And, I got one of my dear friends, Justin Jensen, and his family. They love him to death, right? And we don't talk cop shop a whole lot.
Right.
I mean, it comes up, but okay. But there's so much else to life than this.
Oh, absolutely.
So that helps unpack things too, right?
And it's in understanding that, like, when it's time to leave those four walls and you have that support outside the four walls and then you retire, you're not, now what? You have those friends. You're not looking for, okay, I got to find other cop friends. No.
Right.
No, it's so valuable. I would say that I was pretty good with that.
Okay.
With having outside friends, but there's a lot of people that it's just the job.
Oh, yeah. Guilty.
And when you leave the job, you know, you're that badge number that you're gone. Yep. And I mean, I remember I left, I went down to Cape Coral for 4 months.
Good for you.
I didn't come in when I retired. I didn't come back in for a month. So it was 5 months. I walked into the front door and there was such a huge amount of hiring and guys retiring in Warren. All three people that were at the front desk had no idea who I was. I was gone 5 months.
Right.
It's just, and so you do, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, some of my best friends are cops, but
absolutely,
also the value of the civilian world that we are going to be part of. Yes.
Mm-hmm. It helps you look at things in a different perspective. Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have men and women that are dear friends to me and I, call them my ride or dies. And I'll always have them close to my heart, but it's absolutely beneficial and good to have people that aren't a part of our arena be part of your social network, right?
Yes.
In your social group.
Yes.
So it brings a different perspective.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, right? Yeah.
So there's a young cop out there listening. There's a guy with 10 years on the job. And he's not that rookie anymore. He's thrown some stuff. He's thrown many stones in that backpack. And he's trying to figure things out. He's probably drinking too much, probably hanging out too much, being in the wrong places that he needs to be, right? Especially if he's married. As a experienced man in life, in law enforcement, and as a family man, what do you tell that guy?
Sounds like there's two guys. So can I address the first one first?
Absolutely.
Right? So that new guy, right? Enjoy the ride. Right? Enjoy the ride. Listen. Be a sponge. Work hard. Right? This is the most rewarding profession, one of the most rewarding professions you ever can get into. You're going to see a lot, young man or woman, right?
Yeah.
You might not understand it, but it's okay to reach out to a superior, a coworker. Seek it on your own to unpack your baggage, right? Early on.
Yes.
Understand your finances. Right? Plan early.
Yes. That 457, put it in there.
Right?
Put the money in. Yeah.
Live within your means. Overtime is a some people would say it's a hassle, but it's a privilege, right?
You're not buying that brand new boat when you get your first.
Exactly. Don't count on overtime as your part of your salary,
right.
Wages, right? But just ultimately enjoy it. You raising your right hand and swearing an oath is pretty powerful. Remember that, right?
Yes.
Remember what this badge stands for.
Yes.
And have fun, right?
Yeah.
To the 10-year guy, reflecting back to 10 years, you're dangerous enough that you know a whole lot. Be cautious of your ego, right? There's a difference between confidence and arrogance.
Yes.
Maintain confidence. We need that.
Yeah.
Check the arrogance and ego at the door. Be humble. Right. But don't forget about the new guy, right? Be a mentor, be a good leader, good partner. Hopefully by us speaking to this younger group, right, that we're hitting the people that by us as older guys in the game, right, They're learning from our we didn't know what we didn't know situations, right?
Right.
Take what we're trying to build and make it better, right? There's no harm, no foul in picking up something that was left in a good place and then driving it and making it better, right?
Yeah.
And if somebody, whoever replaces me down the road, can continue on and make what the foundations that we're trying to lay here, make it better, take it and do it, man. Love it. And that 10-year guy, just be that good leader, right? Because you're probably in that wheelhouse of potentially being promoted. You are promoted. Have an open door policy if you are that supervisor to let your men and women come in and truly just unload some things, right? It's not weak.
No.
Have some tools in your toolbox that you can provide them, whether it be a phone number, a listening ear, somebody you can put them into contact with for whatever their needs are. Yeah, and again, enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride.
I
love it.
It's a good thing. It's an awesome profession, and the men and women who came before us were great as well. We're just trying to work to be better than what they left it. And hopefully somebody down the road will take it and make it better from when we left it, right?
Yeah. Brent,
Sure.
thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome.
I
Thank
hope
you for
you
having
come
me.
back another time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. And like I say, I mean, by any means, I will not sit here and profess to be an expert in this, the conversation topics we talked about,
Right.
But just unpacking it and sharing some of my failures and successes, and hopefully somebody can learn from what I didn't do right and what I think I'm trying to do right, or what we're trying to do right as a profession. So Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Whether you're behind the four walls of a precinct, a firehouse, or your own home, the mission is exactly the same. Today, Chief Pirochta reminded us that true leadership isn't about ignoring the weight of the badge. It's about carrying it together, making sure your people actually survive the job. Stay whole and stay present. Look out for your brother and sisters standing next to you. You started strong. Now let's finish stronger. I'm Charlie Younkin, and this is Beyond the Four Walls. We'll see you next time.